Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe and share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, and anyone in between. I appreciate all the views. There's still some interesting stuff to talk about, and I've got a little bit of time now, so why not give my take? So, without further ado, let's get into it. So the truth, Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford have had their, what would you call it, cross-country promotional tour. They've had their two press conferences. The first one took place in LA on Tuesday. Second one took place in New York on Wednesday. And yeah, do you know what? You can tell that both of these guys realize that this is their, not just their legacy fight, but this is their opportunity to make the most amount of money. Errol doesn't usually talk that much, but he's pretty decent in the back and forth. Terence used to almost never talk, like he was disinterested, almost to the point where it's to say, well, these guys ain't who I want to be fighting, so I'ma just answer the question, I'ma go in the ring, do my job, pay me my money. Whereas on this occasion, he seems, like I said, he realizes that this is not only his legacy, but this is his chance to properly get his name out there. He's doing a lot more talking, not just in press conferences, but even outside, doing interviews, doing media. He's a lot more engaging now than he has been previously. And I know part of that is because he used to say he would never want to say something, and then people start twisting his words because where he comes from, like, he views that as a disrespect, and he don't want to give anyone the chance to disrespect him like that. Whereas now, I think he just realizes, you know what, let me use this to my advantage. People kind of like the back and forth on the social scene, what I've been doing. Okay, let me be a bit more vocal. So both of them have, they were sort of respectfully competitive towards the start of their little tour, but things started to get a little bit spicy when you had Errol Spence specifically at the start, when Terence is trying to have a conversation, when Terence is basically trying to say that it will cement how great I am if I beat Errol Spence Jr. and Spence is like, hold on, what do you mean about how great you are? Like, you ain't never beat nobody. Like, Top Rank gotta credit them for being the best matchmakers in the world. Like, they just put you in there with some decent guys, but there was no one special in there. Like, who did they beat? The people that you fought. Like, who's your best victories at 147? Like, Kell Brook was a broken man when you fought him, blah blah blah. And then I remember, and then Terence was like, oh, so Kell Brook wasn't broken when you fought him? And it was like, no, he wasn't broken. No, I broke his other eye. Damn, I'm the one that broke him. Like, oh, so Golovkin didn't break his eye first? He goes, no, he wasn't broken. I'm the one that broke him. So you can kind of then see, like, that was a fumble from Spence. He started off good, but he fumbled it when he couldn't really, get to the crux of it. Because ultimately, I've said this to Danny from Fight Fan, he doesn't like when I say this, but a fact is a fact. Yes, Errol Spence had faced Kell Brook 8 months after the Golovkin fight, but Golovkin broke the eye socket. That takes at least 3.5 to 4 months to heal. Then he's coming down for 160 down to 147, trying to cut all that weight. And he was piecing up Errol Spence for the first 2/3 of that fight, up until sort of round 7-8. I'd say around round 8 when he started to gas out, and that's when Spence basically, broke him down and started to get on top in that fight, and ultimately forced him to quit when he hit him and broke the other eye socket. Which they always say, once one of them breaks, the second one is a lot easier to break than previous. So that's just kind of what happened there. And then the Kell Brook that Errol Spence fought, that Terence Crawford fought, sorry. Yes, okay, he was a lot older. You might have said he was washed, but he was coming off of 3 back-to-back victories. So he was a lot more combat ready, would you say? Now, yeah, he didn't do great in making the 147 weight, because he's never really been great at making that weight. and obviously the fights he was facing before was all of them was at 154, but it's still 3 back-to-back victories. So the fact that, you know, Crawford stopped him in 4, whereas Spence took 11 to stop him after Golovkin beat him in 5, tells you something. The fact that Sean Porter was stopped by Crawford, whereas he gave Errol like the hardest night Errol's ever had in the ring, and if it wasn't for the fact that Errol managed to drop him in the 12th round of their fight, Sean Porter actually would have won that fight on the cards via split decision, because he already had one of the cards. He won on one of the cards even with the knockdown. So yeah, it's when you sort of get all to that, it's like, okay, so the stuff that Spence is saying don't really make sense. And ultimately, when you look at, again, Julius and Ndongo, and you look at these people and say, oh, well, who did you fight? Who are these people? Like, well, unfortunately, Ndongo was a unified world champion who went to 2 back-to-back people's back gardens, back-to-back, to win those belts before Crawford won them off him. And then when Crawford beat him, and when Crawford beat Ricky Burns, both of them went and won world titles again once Crawford moved out of the division. So that kind of shows you that, not saying they're the greatest of people, but they still went on to achieve decent things afterwards. I'm not saying they're the greatest of opponents, but when he fought them, they were the guys. And ultimately, he proved to be the guy, and they still went on to have pretty decent careers afterwards, although, you know, for however long that lasted. You go from 135 up to 140 up to 147. Like, Crawford's record, while he may not have the high profile names on it, realistically, you look at it, his record isn't any worse than Spence's. If you look at the people that Spence fought and what they achieved, with the exception of Mikey Garcia, there's a lot of comparable names on both of their records. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but just look at who those people fought or who they won titles from and all of that stuff. There's not a lot there. So the only difference is the fact that some of them are big names. Danny Garcia, for instance, he's only a big name to anyone because he KO'd Amir Khan at the weight division below. That's the only reason you get credit for him. Like Sean Porter, you always get credit for, because Porter is just, he's throwback. But Mikey Garcia dragged up from 2 weight divisions below and you couldn't stop him. Kell Brook, you went 11 rounds with him after a very bad weight cut and a broken eye socket. Like, all of these things, I mean, they're not the, you know, the greatest. Or you're Dennis Ugas, like you had you systematically broke him down, but that whole fight looked weird because Ugas would hurt Spence visibly and then just stop punching, almost like he was under orders to not carry on. Now, that, as crazy as that sounds, that's what it literally looked like in the ring, because he would visibly punch Spencer. Spence would be hurt or rocked or stunned, not taking the shot well, and the Ugas, rather than follow up with another one and another one, he just stopped and wait for Spence to then do his work, even to the point knocked his mouthpiece out, bundled him into the ropes, and then just stood still and looked at the ref like, what do you want me to do? The whole thing was weird. But ultimately, all I'm just saying is, when you look at the resumes, they're not that dissimilar from each other. It's just one has the names and the other one doesn't. That's pretty much it. It's, right, if you look at them skill set for skill set, achievement for achievement, they're very similar, especially at that welterweight run. And obviously, if you take the whole thing from 135 upwards, it's no comparison whose resume is better, who's the more accomplished, and who's proven themselves. So yeah, but yeah, that being said, even the second day was highly entertaining as well. I can't lie. I mean, Errol did have the best line. He said, look, you know, Jamaican, we be smoking on bud. Like, that whole stuff, I was here for that, because while I don't partake in the sticky ickies and the, you know, and the hazies and all that good stuff, like, I thought the reference was hella funny. You know, I liked that whole back and forth about filleting the fish, you know, gutting it, chopping the head off, descaling it, and then, you know, rolling up. We got these bud packs for you, and smoking's legal in Vegas, so, you know, let's all have a good time and smoke on this bud and stuff. Now, there's certain other things that I could imply there, but I'm gonna keep it clean. Either way, I thought that part was highly entertaining, and that was probably where he managed to get his get back, because Bud had a good line in that second press conference, but he kind of fluffed it towards the end. But I won't sort of take too much credit away from him for that. But when he said everyone's gonna say, oh well, you know, I ain't never fought nobody, well, I guess on the 29th then this is just gonna be another nobody that I ain't fought. I mean, that I have fought. Like, if he had have got that one right, I felt like, yeah, that would have been sweet, because ultimately I know what he's saying, because you're not gonna give me my credit when I beat this guy anyway, so he's just gonna be another nobody on the list, right? But I know, and you know, and we know what the situation is. So I found it entertaining. Like I said, I like the fact that both of them was talking a lot more than normal. Bud especially, like, he really looks like he's into this one, and this is what he's wanted, so he can't come into this with his normal approach. He's got to try and sell this one, especially if he's looking to make that money. So yeah, I'm here for it. I found it entertaining. It wasn't like the greatest, but I know that the shoulder content, as far as I'm concerned, should be great for this. The, you know, like the Blood, Sweat and Tears series, or whatever they're going to call it, All Access, all that stuff. I know that stuff there is going to be amazing. I can't wait for that to come out. That's what I'm going to be watching. But yeah, all good. It looks like Gennady Golovkin is calling time on his career at the moment, because he has now officially vacated his IBO world title, which was the last of the titles he held. The first one he vacated, I believe, was the WBO title that he had. Then he vacated the IBF, and now he's vacated the IBO. So I think that pretty much means that he now might be done. And if that's the case, look, he had a great career, stellar career. I guess this is pretty much it for him. It's weird though, because the IBO don't even have mandatory, so why would you vacate that one unless you really were calling it quits? It'll be interesting to see it. I mean, maybe he might have one last one, just to say that he doesn't want to leave on a loss. Some people are like that, so maybe that's the way he may decide to go as well. But if not, I mean, look, he had a good career, so all respect to him. And when and if that announcement comes, he'll get his due praise from me on this channel. And last but not least, since we're talking about potential retirements, well, Teofimo Lopez, after beating Josh Taylor on the weekend, said that he's retired, or he's feeling about retiring. He's got more important battles to fight outside of the ring. Obviously, custody battle of his son, his divorce that's going on with his ex-wife, or soon to be ex-wife. So most people's like, oh yeah, whatever, he's not retiring because blah 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 blah. He's gonna come back in maybe 6 months to a year. I think I pretty much said the same thing, and I still do kind of believe that to a degree, but he's doubled down on it. He's kind of been a man on his word. He wrote, I think he emailed or voice noted Paco Vasconcelos, who is the president of the WBO, and has basically said that he's vacating and relinquishing his WBO title. You know, he is retired now. I guess he'll keep the ring belt up until the point of a new number 1 and 2 can be established. But I mean, if he's bluffing, I mean, he's doing a great job of it right now, because like he's fully committed to this one. And to be honest, I think that it's the right choice. If he's not in it for the time being, for whatever reason, there's no need to hold up the belt, to hold up the division. Let someone else fight for it for the next, you know, year or so, because if he comes back, he'll always be able, they said that, you know, if he when he chooses to return, he'll be fine with the WBO. Like, we'll be happy to welcome him back. So I doubt it'll be like a champion recess or anything like that, since he's vacated, but I'm sure that he would get first priority in a mandated fight for that belt, should he return as a, you know, a champion that never lost it in the ring. So yeah, ultimately, I mean, hey, I mean, great career. We'll wait for the second part, but for right now, that's pretty much where we're at. Now, the prevailing theory as to why he's actually relinquished the belt is not necessarily because he's permanently retiring. It's more to do with the fact of then his next opponent is Arnold Barbosa. That's the number 1 in the division. Now, he said previously he doesn't want to fight Arnold Barbosa. Don't make me fight that guy for whatever reason. Whether he doesn't want to fight him, he doesn't think there's any money in it, he thinks that's going to be his toughest test, whatever it is, he doesn't want to fight Arnold Barbosa. Underneath Arnold Barbosa, you've got Jose Ramirez, and I'm assuming that based on the top rank issue that he's had, they're both top rank guys, he probably doesn't want to be in a situation where his next fight or a fight after that, especially if he takes a year out, will be a mandatory, whereby he'll be forced to have to face one of these people and not be able to fight someone that he wants to fight on his comeback, on his return. And by getting rid of the belt, that doesn't change his market value, because people know that he's the man, he's the lineal in the division, he's the man that beat the man twice on within both his weight classes. So his value will kind of still be set there, but within this retirement, he's not going to be forced into who he must fight next or the fight after that. And also, I think if he's retired, then technically that will break any and all contracts he may have with Top Rank, especially if he's retired for a period of time, whereby they won't be able to get however many fights left they have on it, or the amount of years that may be left on it. You never quite know what their contracts are like, to be honest, but that's a theory as to why he's decided to relinquish the belt. But I definitely do think he will be out of the ring for the rest of this year, guaranteed, and I probably don't think he will be back until similar this sort of time, end of May 2024. Who he fights on his return, who knows? Whether it's a comeback fight, whether it's a big money fight, I'm not sure. But I also wouldn't be surprised if when he comes back, he ends up coming back as a full-fledged welterweight instead of a light welter. But again, all speculation. We can wait and see. But nope, I respect him for not holding up the division. I respect him for giving others an opportunity, and I would not be surprised now if Devin Haney campaigns to be given super champ status at 135 to take on like Arnold Barbosa or Jose Ramirez for the WBO title at 140. I definitely would not be surprised if that was the case. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there for now. Thank you lot very much for watching. I appreciate all of it. Again, like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. Leave your comments down below, let me know what you think. But for right now, it's the Hardcore Casual out.